Welcome back to the Archive Network. Aurelius here, with Malik, curators of the Conflict Archive. We left War of Spanish Succession last time with winter looming. Both sides dug in, their leaders unwilling to concede defeat. Today we pick up where we left off. By 1704, the War of the Spanish Succession had morphed into a ravenous beast, one that was devouring entire regions and multiplying its theaters of conflict with alarming speed. The Grand Alliance, Britain, Austria, the Dutch Republic, and their allies found themselves battered but unyielding. Their resolve to break the Franco-Bavarian grip on southern Germany wasn't just strategic. It was a matter of survival. As the war raged on, we witnessed how ambition and desperation could fuel the flames of conflict, forcing nations into a relentless struggle for dominance.
But let's not forget the cost of that determination. It's easy to romanticize the idea of a united front, yet the reality was chaos. Soldiers were pushed to their limits, their endurance tested in ways that would haunt them long after the war. For many, it wasn't just about strategy. It was about survival against overwhelming odds.
True, but resilience is what defines great military campaigns. Marlborough and Prince Eugene of Savoy were commanders of rare daring and discipline. Their logistical feat during the summer of 1704 is still studied in military academies today because it exemplifies the lengths to which leaders will go. It was a march that pushed both flesh and spirit to the brink, showcasing the relentless drive and strategic brilliance that can turn the tide of a war.
But at what cost? Those soldiers trudged through mud-soaked fields, their bodies pushed to the edge. They faced not only the enemy but the elements and their own fatigue. This wasn't just a logistical achievement. It was a tragedy in motion. Each step forward came with a price that echoes in the memories of those who survived.
The convergence near Blenheim in August was crucial. The air thickened with tension as the Allied armies prepared for battle against the French, led by Marshal Tallard. They had entrenched themselves along the Danube. Artillery aimed to sweep the open ground. The stakes were high, and the outcome would determine the fate of southern Germany.
And yet, it wasn't just a battle of forces. It was a clash of wills. The French soldiers were not mere cannon fodder. They too had families and homes they fought for. The impending violence would haunt the land long after the guns fell silent. The war's brutality makes it impossible to see any victor without acknowledging the human cost.
The morning of August 13 shattered the dawn with the thunder of cannon fire. The Battle of Blenheim erupted, a chaotic spectacle of carnage that none could ignore. Cavalry surged forward, their sabers glinting menacingly in the sunlight. The earth trembled under the weight of history unfolding before us. Yet, as we witness this clash of titans, we must remember the horrific cost of such a victory. Glory often comes hand in hand with unimaginable suffering.
Those aren't just numbers on a page. They are lives lost in the mud and smoke. As the French center began to collapse, panic spread through their ranks. This wasn't just a military defeat. It was a personal tragedy for every soldier involved. The stories of the wounded and the dead tell a tale far removed from your grand narratives of victory.
The aftermath revealed the true horror of war. In makeshift hospitals, surgeons worked tirelessly by candlelight, battling not just the enemy, but the very nature of suffering itself. The air was thick with the metallic tang of blood, and the cries of the wounded echoed through the night. Those who survived carried scars far deeper than any wound inflicted on the battlefield. They bore the weight of memories that would haunt them long after the guns fell silent, a grim reminder of what we're willing to sacrifice.
And while all this was happening on land, the war's violence found new forms at sea. The British fleet's assault on Gibraltar in July 1704 was a bold move. But as British Marines stormed ashore, the cost of that victory mirrored the suffering on the continent. For every soldier honored, there were countless civilians caught in the crossfire.
True, the battle for Gibraltar was brutal. The sea churned with cannon fire, black smoke rolling across the bay. It was chaos, with ships grappling and men fighting fiercely. Yet, when we look at it from a strategic standpoint, we see that it altered the balance of naval power in the region. With Gibraltar secured, the British gained a critical foothold in the Mediterranean. They could project their influence further, shaping the course of history in ways we still feel today.
But you're overlooking the human aspect here. The townspeople of Gibraltar didn't just face destruction. They faced the heart-wrenching displacement from their homes. Families were torn apart, friendships shattered overnight. The victory wasn't sweet. It came at an unbearable cost. We often forget that empires calculate their gains without a second thought for the lives left in ruins. It's the people who suffer most, and their stories deserve to be told.
The war's cycle of violence deepened old enmities, making peace seem ever more remote. As winter approached, both sides dug in, stubbornly holding their ground. Their leaders, clinging to pride, were unwilling to concede defeat. The struggle for power consumed not just land, but also the very souls of those involved. Families were torn apart, communities fractured, and hope faded into the harsh winds of winter. This relentless conflict wasn't just a battle for territory. It was a battle for survival itself.
That's where we leave it this time. War of Spanish Succession continues. The story isn't finished yet. Find the full series on the Conflict Archive, part of the Archive Network. We'll be back with the next chapter.